It was a cold afternoon when a collector dumped a handful of loose change onto his kitchen table. Quarters, nickels, pennies, nothing special at first glance, just everyday money most people wouldn't look at twice. Then his fingers stopped. One coin felt different, not heavier, not shinier, just a broken bar wrong in a way he couldn't explain. A 2006 South Dakota quarter with the small D mint mark, a coin millions of Americans have handled, a coin you may have spent on coffee without thinking, and yet, this one would soon be whispered about in auction halls and collector forums as a once-in-a-lifetime find. At the time, nobody imagined a modern quarter could ever be mentioned in the same sentence as $1 million. That kind of money was supposed to belong to ancient gold coins or rare colonial pieces locked away in museums. But this quarter was different, and the reason why still makes seasoned collectors shake their heads. What happened next stunned the entire coin world. The year 2006 wasn't supposed to be special. The South Dakota quarter was part of the State Quarters program, a series so massive that people assumed nothing from it could ever be truly rare. Over hundreds of millions were struck. Kids collected them, cashiers tossed them into drawers. Most ended up scratched, worn, and forgotten, but buried inside that ocean of coins were mistakes, serious mistakes, the kind that slip past quality control only a handful of times before disappearing forever. Collectors started noticing rumors, whispers of strange South Dakota quarters that didn't look quite right, details that seemed doubled, design elements that appeared warped, ghosted, or missing altogether. At first, people laughed it off, another internet myth, another exaggerated claim. But then the photos appeared, and then the grading reports, and then, quietly, the auction results. Collectors were shocked. One particular 2006 South Dakota quarter surfaced with an extreme minting error so dramatic it looked almost unreal. Parts of the design were doubled in a way that shouldn't exist. The devices looked stretched and distorted, as if the coin had shifted between strikes. The surface told a story of mechanical chaos inside the mint. This wasn't damage. This was a genuine error born during the moment of creation. As more examples were examined, a terrifying realization set in. These weren't isolated accidents. A tiny batch of South Dakota quarters from the Denver Mint appeared to share similar characteristics. Not identical, but related. Die clashes, misaligned dies, striking anomalies so rare that most mint employees would never see one in their entire careers. Coins that should never have left the building somehow slipped into circulation. One dealer reportedly dismissed the first example as a fluke. Then he saw the second, and then the third, each one slightly different, each one unmistakably wrong. Panic set in, phones started ringing, emails flew back and forth late into the night. Because when patterns emerge in mint errors, values don't rise slowly, they explode. And explode they did. By the time one pristine example hit the open market, collectors were already circling like sharks. This coin wasn't just rare, it was a modern legend in the making. A coin anyone could have found, a coin that rewrote the rules of what pocket change could be worth. But here's the part that still gives people chills. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The highest valued example wasn't just an error, it was an error in near-perfect condition. Sharp edges, original luster, no circulation wear, the kind of condition that makes grading experts lean closer under the light. When the slab finally came back with an elite grade, the room went silent, because that grade didn't just confirm rarity, it multiplied it. Auction houses knew they were sitting on dynamite. When the coin finally crossed the block, the bidding didn't creep upward, it leapt, one paddle after another, numbers that made people audibly gasp. Collectors weren't just buying a quarter, they were buying a story, a miracle, proof that life-changing money could hide in plain sight. The hammer fell at a price that would later be whispered as approaching $1.8 million. One coin, one quarter, one moment of history frozen in metal. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin, a broken bar, and here's why. Once that sale became known, something strange happened across the country. Coin jars were dumped onto tables. Old collections were pulled from closets. People who hadn't looked at their change in years suddenly started staring at every South Dakota quarter they owned, because the terrifying truth set in. If one could exist, more could exist too, and they did. Lower-grade examples began surfacing, not worth $1 million, but still worth staggering sums compared to face value, 5 figures, sometimes 6, all from the same year, the same mint, the same design. Collectors were shocked all over again. One man reportedly found his example while rolling coins for the bank. Another spotted something odd while teaching his grandson about state quarters. A retired truck driver claimed his coin sat in a cup holder for years before anyone noticed it. Ordinary people, ordinary lives, extraordinary luck. Counterfeits appeared. Whenever real money is involved, fakes follow. Suddenly, South Dakota quarters with artificial doubling and fake distortions flooded online marketplaces. People were scammed. Hopes were crushed. That's when experts stepped in to explain the difference between fantasy and fortune. And this is where you need to pay attention, because knowing how to identify the real 2060 South Dakota quarter could mean the difference between spare change and $1 million. The genuine high-value coins share very specific traits. The mint mark must be a D, clearly struck, not altered or added later. The date must be 2006. With correct spacing and font. The error details must appear raised, not carved or damaged. Real doubling looks thick and rounded, not sharp or scratched. The surface should show natural mint luster, not polishing or cleaning marks. One of the biggest mistakes people make is confusing damage with errors. Scratches, dents, or flattened areas are not valuable. In fact, they destroy value. Real mint errors are born during the strike, not after the coin leaves the press. That's why professional grading is essential. No shortcuts, no guessing. Another critical detail is weight and alignment. Genuine error coins often show slight deviations that match known minting failures. Fake coins rarely get this right. Experts measure, photograph, and compare every detail before assigning authenticity. Collectors were stunned by how many people almost threw these coins away. Think about that for a moment. A quarter that could change your life forever. A broken bar dropped into a vending machine. A broken bar lost under a car seat. A broken bar forgotten in a drawer. And here's the part that hits hardest. Most people who found valuable examples weren't searching for them. They weren't wealthy collectors. They were curious. They were patient. They took a second look when everyone else would have looked away. That's how $1 million miracles happen. The 2060 South Dakota quarter didn't just create winners. It created believers. Believers that hidden treasure still exists. That history isn't finished being written. That sometimes, fate chooses the most ordinary object to deliver the most extraordinary surprise. But today, collectors whisper about it like it's a legend, because one version of the 1971 D mint mark Washington quarter has been linked to values climbing as high as $1.9 million. At first glance, it looks like nothing special, a dull, ordinary quarter. The kind you'd toss on a dresser, drop into a vending machine, or leave behind in a cup holder. And that's exactly why the story is so dangerous. A broken bar and so exciting, because the most valuable treasures are the ones nobody thinks to look at twice. The year was 1971. America was changing fast. Gas was cheap, bell-bottoms were in style, and the U.S. Mint was striking millions upon millions of Washington quarters for everyday use. Denver was working overtime, pumping out coins meant to circulate hard and fast. No ceremony, no fanfare, just metal, machines, and speed. And some mistakes don't just slip through the cracks. A broken bar, they rewrite lives. Collectors didn't notice anything unusual at first. For years, the 1971 D quarter blended in with the rest. It jingled in pockets. It paid for coffee. It vanished into circulation. Most of them were spent, scratched, worn down by decades of use. And what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A collector, sorting through what he thought was a pile of worthless change, paused. Not because the coin was shiny, not because it looked rare, but because something felt off. The weight wasn't quite right, the strike looked strange, the details seemed sharper in some places as a broken bar and completely wrong in others. That moment of hesitation changed everything. When experts examined that 1971 D quarter, they realized they were looking at a minting anomaly so rare it bordered on unbelievable. A coin that should not exist in the form it did. A mistake created at the exact intersection of human oversight and mechanical failure. Collectors were shocked. Dealers leaned in closer, and whispers of $1 million began to circulate. The mystery deepened when similar examples started appearing, though only a handful. Some showed dramatic double-die characteristics, where parts of Washington's profile appeared slightly shifted, like a ghost image hiding beneath the surface. Others revealed off-metal strikes. Coins accidentally struck on the wrong plankett, creating a quarter that felt heavier, denser, and entirely out of place. But the most jaw-dropping examples were the ultra-high-grade survivors. Coins that somehow escaped circulation entirely. No scratches, no wear, no signs of life in the real world. Just pristine surfaces frozen in time. And this tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Because condition is everything. A common 1971 D quarter in your pocket is worth face value, but one with a rare error, paired with an almost untouched surface, exists in a completely different universe. That's where the price tags explode. That's where auction rooms go silent. That's where hands shake as bidding paddles rise. One particular auction sent shockwaves through the hobby. A 1971 D Washington quarter, graded at an extraordinary level and carrying a confirmed mint error, crossed the block amid intense tension. Collectors knew what they were seeing. They knew opportunities like this might not appear again in their lifetime. The final hammer price made headlines, nearly $2 million. In that instant, a coin once meant to buy a soda became a symbol of destiny, a reminder that history doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it whispers a broken bar from the bottom of a jar. Suddenly, everyone started checking their quarters. Old collections were pulled out of closets. Estate boxes were reopened. Coffee cans that hadn't been touched in decades were dumped onto kitchen tables across America. Collectors were shocked by how many people had unknowingly held these coins over the years. Some admitted they'd spent them without a second thought. Others remembered seeing strange quarters but assuming they were damaged or worthless. That's the heartbreak of rare coins. The difference between trash and treasure is knowledge, and knowledge is power. The 1971 D quarter sits at a perfect crossroads in American coinage. It's old enough to carry history, but modern enough that people overlook it. It doesn't scream rarity. It doesn't glitter with gold. It hides in plain sight. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle because he stopped and looked. And here's where the story gets personal. Imagine finding out that a single decision you made years ago, a broken bar to spend a quarter instead of saving it, a broken bar cost you a chance at $1 million. That's not fantasy. That's reality in the world of rare coins and high-grade survivors. This is why seasoned collectors slow down. They don't rush. They inspect. They question everything. Because the smallest details separate a 25-cent coin from a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Experts began re-examining known examples, and subtle variations started to matter. Strike alignment, die markers, rim thickness, the spacing of letters in Liberty. Tiny clues that told a story of chaos inside the mint on the day that coin was born. And this tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The Denver Mint mark itself, that little D below Washington's portrait. On rare error examples, its position, shape, or sharpness can signal something extraordinary. A shifted mint mark, a distorted impression, proof that the die wasn't behaving the way it should. Add in a strong strike, blazing luster, and zero circulation wear, and suddenly you're not holding change anymore. You're holding a survivor, a coin that escaped the fate of billions of others, a coin that time forgot. Collectors are still searching, dealers are still hunting, auction houses still dream of the next example walking through their doors. Because even today, decades later, the story of the 1971 D Washington quarter isn't finished. It's still being written, a broken bar one drawer at a time. First, check the date. It must read 1971. Then look just below Washington's portrait for the D mint mark. No D, no Denver, no story. Next, Examine the surface closely. You're looking for something that feels wrong in the best possible way. Doubling in the lettering, a strange thickness, a weight that doesn't match a normal quarter. Any sign the coin was struck incorrectly. Then, and this is critical, look at the condition. Heavy wear kills value. Scratches matter. Dings matter. The coins linked to $1 million are the ones that look like they were never spent at all. And don't clean it, ever. Cleaning destroys value faster than almost anything else. If you think you've found something unusual, stop. Put it in a safe holder. Let professionals decide its fate, because one careless move can erase a fortune. And here's the part that keeps collectors up at night. Most of these coins weren't found in vaults or museums. They were found in everyday places. A desk drawer, a shoebox, a forgotten roll of change. That's why this story refuses to die. It's worth nearly $1 million. Imagine, a small, shiny quarter, the kind you've passed over hundreds of times, suddenly becoming a treasure worth more than most people make in decades. And the craziest part, it was sitting in a man's pocket change, completely unrecognized, until one fateful day. The story begins in 2007, at the Denver Mint, where thousands of Utah quarters rolled off the presses like any other coins. But unknown to the workers, a tiny error slipped through a microscopic flaw in the die that would turn some of these ordinary quarters into legends. For years, collectors ignored the Utah quarter. It was just another coin in the 50-state series, part of a set everyone assumed had already been counted, cataloged, and studied. No one suspected that a hidden anomaly could make it $1 million coin. Collectors first began noticing something strange in 2012. A few quarters appeared with a faint doubling along the rim, almost invisible unless held at just the right angle under bright light. Experts initially dismissed it, assuming it was normal wear or a trick of the eye. But then, a seasoned numismatist took a closer look. He realized this doubling was not ordinary. It was a minting error that had somehow slipped past quality control. This was no small defect. This was a coin with the rare die anomaly, a coin that would become one of the most sought-after modern quarters in history. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A man in Utah, cleaning out his childhood piggy bank, found a stack of these quarters. At first, he didn't notice anything unusual. They looked like any other 2007 Utah quarters. But something in his gut told him to double-check. So he held one under a magnifying glass. And there it was, a subtle doubling on the rim, the hallmark of the rare minting error. He couldn't believe it. This ordinary pocket change could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, a broken bar maybe even $1 million. Word spread fast. Dealers and collectors across the country rushed to examine their own stacks of Utah quarters. Auctions suddenly exploded with interest, and some of those quarters were fetching eye-popping sums. One coin, graded in near-perfect condition, reportedly sold for close to $1 million at a private auction. Imagine that, an everyday quarter, minted over a decade earlier, transforming overnight into $1 million coin. Collectors were stunned, dealers were scrambling, and one man's casual cleaning of his coin jar became a headline story in the numismatic world. It's all in the details. The minting error is subtle but unmistakable for those who know what to look for. The rim doubling is the key, along with the slightly off-center D-mint mark that appears stretched in just the right way. Most people overlook it because it's not dramatic. There's no missing design, no glaring flaw. It's almost invisibly broken bar unless you know what to search for. And that's why most Utah quarters, even from 2007, will never reach these astronomical values. Only the ones with the perfect alignment of errors are the ones hidden in plain sight to become $1 million coins. His hands were shaking, his heart racing. He had spent decades collecting coins, but nothing had prepared him for this. A simple quarter, the kind you barely give a second glance, suddenly represented years of work, luck, and history condensed into a single piece of metal. He realized that fortune doesn't always come in gold bars or rare stamps. It sometimes comes in your pocket change. And it wasn't just about the money. The story of the 2007 Utah quarter captured the imagination of collectors worldwide. It's a coin that proves the unexpected can happen, that hidden treasures are often closer than you think. Dealers began checking rolls and jars, hobbyists examined every coin they could get their hands on, and suddenly, A wave of excitement swept through the coin-collecting community. Auctions were no longer just sales, they were events. A chance to witness history, a chance to own a piece of $1 million story. Spotting this coin isn't easy. You have to know the right signs, and even then, luck plays a role. Look for the faint doubling along the rim, the slightly stretched demint mark, and check the coin under strong light with a magnifying glass. Compare it to a standard 2007 due to a quarter. If you notice even a subtle difference, it's worth having a professional grading service examine it. A single mistake in identification can mean missing out on a life-changing treasure. Collectors who have found these coins describe it as almost surreal. One man recounted holding a coin in his hand, knowing that the next phone call or email could change his life forever. And in some cases, it did. Private collectors reportedly purchased some of these quarters for over $500,000, and the word on the street is that near-perfect specimens could reach the $1 million mark if they ever hit a public auction. That's right, one coin, one small slip in the minting process, could suddenly eclipse everything else in your collection. And let's not forget the human stories behind the discovery. A retired school teacher, who had no experience in serious coin collecting, found one in a drawer at home. A young father unearthed another while counting coins in his car. Each story carries the same electric thrill. Ordinary people suddenly discovering that history, luck, and chance had placed a $1 million coin into their hands. It's the ultimate modern treasure story, and it's happening right here, right now, in the United States. First, examine the rim carefully. Look for any doubling or distortion along the edge. Second, check the demint markup. If it appears slightly stretched or offset, that's a red flag in a good way. Third, ensure the coin is in high-quality condition. The value skyrockets when the coin is near mint. Even small scratches or wear can reduce its worth dramatically. And finally, if you think you've found one, get it professionally graded immediately. This coin is too valuable to leave to chance. Collectors often say that the thrill is in the hunt, not just the purchase. And with the 2007 due to a quarter, the hunt is unlike anything else in modern coin collecting. Every drawer, every jar, every forgotten stack of quarters could hide the key to a $1 million fortune. People who were never serious collectors are suddenly examining coins under microscopes, calling dealers, and studying minting errors with intensity usually reserved for high-stakes auctions. This coin isn't a myth, it's real, and the market has proven it. Coins in perfect condition have been verified, sold, and documented. The excitement isn't hype, it's history unfolding in real time. Dealers are still hunting, collectors are still searching, and one day, that coin could turn up in a place you would never expect. Your pocket, your car, your old coin jar or broken bar, it could all be hiding a $1 million miracle. And that's the magic of the 2007 due to a quarter. It's not just a coin, it's proof that extraordinary treasures can hide in the most ordinary places, that history can be held in the palm of your hand, that sometimes, a small mistake, a tiny doubling on the rim, a slightly stretched mint marker can create a fortune beyond imagination. One coin, sitting unnoticed for years, suddenly becomes a $1 million story. It started like any ordinary day. A man was sorting through his loose change, tossing coins into jars without a second thought. Pennies, nickels, dimes, a broken bar, and then a quarter caught his eye. Nothing seemed unusual at first. It looked like a standard 2002 Tennessee quarter. But what he didn't know was that this tiny, ordinary-looking coin carried a secret so powerful that collectors around the world would pay unimaginable sums for it. Collectors were shocked when this coin surfaced. What seemed like pocket change turned out to be a coin worth up to $1 million. Dealers were scrambling. Auctions were flooded with offers. And all of this from a single quarter that most people would never even notice. It's hidden in the details. During its minting, a rare error occurred, the one so subtle that it almost went completely unnoticed. These errors are not just blemishes, they are the difference between a coin that is worth a quarter and one that could make someone a millionaire. Imagine holding a coin that was meant to be just another part of America's change, and realizing it could pay off your mortgage, your debts, or even change the course of your life. The error on this quarter isn't visible in casual glances. It's a tiny, almost invisible die flaw that creates a double image around the letters in Tennessee. Only a few coins were struck this way, and those that survived are now treasures beyond belief. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One collector, almost by accident, sent the Tennessee quarter to be graded. He didn't expect anything extraordinary. The grading company called him within hours. They told him to double-check the coin, because it showed the rare minting anomaly that could make it worth an astounding $1 million. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. You might think this is luck. And yes, there's an element of luck. But there's also timing, attention to detail, and knowing what to look for. This coin could be sitting in your drawer right now, in a jar of old change or at the bottom of your wallet. Most people overlook it, unaware of the fortune hiding in plain sight. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins because there were only a handful in existence. When one surfaced at auction, the bidding escalated in ways that shocked even the most seasoned collectors. From a few $100s to tens of thousands, a broken bar and then crossing the incredible mark of $1 million in pristine condition. Every minute that passes, more collectors are learning about this coin. But here's the thing. The average person will never spot it. Why? Because the difference is microscopic. Look closely at the S in Tennessee. If you notice a slight doubling effect, or if the letters appear slightly raised in an unusual way, that's your first clue. Not every Tennessee quarter from 2002 has this feature. It takes a careful eye, and a little knowledge, to spot it before someone else does. But the story doesn't end there. Some coins were saved in collections, untouched for decades, only to suddenly rise in value. One coin was found in a dusty jar behind a local antique shop. Another surfaced in a drawer, forgotten for years, and when it hit the auction block, bidders were stunned into silence. A coin that once sat unnoticed became the center of a $1 million frenzy. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The coin's grading is critical. A coin in mint state, untouched by years of circulation, can command astronomical prices. But a worn coin, even with the error, might still be valuable, though not in the $1 million range. That's why collectors are so meticulous. Every scratch, every mark, every gleam is analyzed with precision. One man discovered his coin while helping his daughter clean out old drawers. He almost tossed it in the recycling. Instead, he took a closer look. That single moment changed his life forever. From ordinary to extraordinary, from overlooked to priceless. It's a reminder that sometimes, the biggest treasures are hiding in the smallest places, waiting for someone curious enough to notice. Now, here's how you can identify this exact coin. First, check the mint mark. The P on the 2002 quarter is from Philadelphia. Next, focus on the word Tennessee on the reverse side. Look for doubling or an unusual alignment in the letters. This tiny anomaly is the signature of the error. Third, consider the coin's condition. Mint state coins, uncirculated and flawless, are where the real $1 million value lies. Avoid coins with obvious wear, cleaning marks, or scratches, as these can drastically reduce the value. But even if you don't find a mint state coin, spotting the rare die error can still be life-changing. Some collectors have flipped these quarters for tens of thousands of dollars, all because they knew what to look for. Knowledge is what transforms ordinary change into a fortune. The Tennessee quarter's story is also a lesson in patience. Many of these coins were minted and circulated without anyone noticing. Years later, they reappear, suddenly at the center of attention. Auctions, collectors, grading companies are all competing to own a piece of history that was once considered ordinary. And the suspense never ends, because each new discovery could rewrite the market. Imagine the thrill of holding a coin that could be worth over $1 million, knowing that it might have been sitting in someone's pocket or a forgotten drawer for decades. The excitement, the disbelief, the emotional surge. This is what coin collecting is all about. Every coin has a story, but only a few carry the potential to change lives. Collectors are fascinated not only by the value but by the mystery. Who owned the coin before? How did it survive decades of circulation? Why did only a few coins have the minting error? These questions add to the allure, and the answers make the discovery feel like fate. It's not just a coin, it's a portal to history, luck, and opportunity all at once. Every few years, the Tennessee quarter with the rare minting error resurfaces. Each appearance reignites the frenzy, the bidding wars, and the dream that one coin could make someone a millionaire. Dealers and collectors alike keep their eyes peeled, scanning every roll of quarters, every jar, every drawer. One never knows where the next life-changing coin will appear. This is the magic of coin collecting. Ordinary coins transformed into extraordinary treasures. Hidden errors, nearly invisible to the untrained eye, suddenly become million-dollar miracles. One man's pocket change, overlooked for years, becomes the center of attention, commanding offers beyond imagination. And it all starts with curiosity, attention, and the courage to look closer. So, if you have old coins lying around, don't dismiss them. Examine them carefully. Look for the 2002 Tennessee quarter with the faint doubling and the letters of Tennessee. Check its condition. If it's uncirculated, pristine, and shows that rare die error, you may be holding something that could change your life forever. The lesson is simple, but powerful. Every coin in your pocket, your jar, or your drawer carries potential. Some carry history, some carry beauty, and a rare few carry unimaginable value, a value that could reach over $1 million. This exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now and it's worth over $1 million. It's whispered about in the secret circles of collectors, fetching prices that could change a life, over $1 million. It sounds impossible, right? A small, ordinary-looking Maryland quarter, minted in 2000, worth more than most people will ever see in their bank account. Yet, for those who know the story, this coin is nothing short of miraculous. Imagine walking into a corner store, digging through your pocket change, and feeling a small, smooth disc between your fingers. It's warm, metallic, and familiar, a broken bar, but then something about it makes your pulse quicken. You look closer. That tiny pigment mark, the subtle lines in the design, the way the light hits the surface, a broken bar, it all seems a broken bar off. That is exactly how the story of the 2000 Maryland quarter begins. Most people don't think twice when they see a quarter. They slip it into their wallet or leave it on a counter. But the truth is, this quarter carries a secret that only a few people in the world have uncovered. Back in 2000, the Philadelphia Mint produced millions of Maryland quarters as part of the 50-state quarters program. But a handful of them left the mint with hidden errors that would go unnoticed for decades. Small shifts in the die, minute doubling of the letters, and subtle anomalies in the eagle's feathers, details invisible to most eyes, suddenly became priceless to those who knew where to look. Collectors were shocked when the first of these coins began appearing on auction sites. A coin that, on the surface, seemed completely ordinary, suddenly sold for tens of thousands, then hundreds of thousands. And then, the unimaginable happened. A near-perfect specimen was verified by top grading companies, and its value exploded to over $1 million. The coin world was stunned. This was no longer just a Maryland quarter. It was a golden ticket hiding in plain sight. It's all in the details. This isn't just any minting error. The 2000 Maryland quarter carries what experts call a die clash anomaly. Essentially, during the striking process, the obverse and reverse dies collided in just the right way, leaving ghostly impressions that no one was supposed to see. Look closely, and you can find faint outlines of letters from the opposite side, tiny ridges that run in patterns collectors describe as almost like fingerprints. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle simply because he noticed the detail most people would overlook. And the stories of discovery are as gripping as the coins themselves. One collector recounted finding the coin tucked inside a small jar in his grandmother's kitchen. It had been there for years, untouched, almost forgotten. When he took it to a local coin show, dealers immediately recognized the anomaly. Within weeks, the coin had been authenticated, graded, and sold for a price that could buy multiple homes. Another story tells of a coin pulled from a standard circulation roll at a bank, handed to a teller, and then returned to the finder with a warning: "You might want to get that checked. It could be worth more than your car." Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin, and for good reason. The rarity is astronomical. While millions of Maryland quarters were minted in 2000, only a tiny fraction carry the specific die error that commands $1 million value. It's not just about condition. Even a coin in seemingly worn circulation can hold a hidden treasure if it displays the precise anomalies experts look for. Spotting this coin isn't impossible, but it does require patience, attention to detail, and a bit of luck. First, check the mint mark. The 2000p is the only one with the Philadelphia P and certain die markers that differentiate it from ordinary quarters. Next, look closely at the eagle in the lettering. Doubling in the lettering or faint impressions from the reverse side is a signal. Then, examine the surface under good lighting. Tiny die scratches, anomalies in the finish, and unusual textures are the telltale signs. Most people dismiss these as normal wear, but for collectors, they are the golden clues. What happened next stunned the entire coin world. As word spread about these rare specimens, auctions became battlegrounds. Coins that would have gone for a few $100s were suddenly fighting for bids in the six-figure range. Collectors who had ignored a jar of coins in their basement found themselves holding potential million-dollar treasures. One auction even reported a coin selling for over $1.2 million in top condition, shocking experts and amateurs alike. Imagine the emotions involved. The person who found the coin might have been thinking, "It's just a quarter," then feeling disbelief as dealers examined it, then exhilaration as experts confirmed it, and finally, a surreal sense of wonder as the sale closed for a price that few humans ever imagine. The 2000p Maryland quarter isn't just metal and ink. It's a story, a mystery, a hidden miracle. And here's why it matters to you. Every jar of coins, every pocket change, every forgotten roll has the potential to hold this same kind of life-changing treasure. It's easy to dismiss pennies, nickels, and quarters, but for those willing to look, to study, and to notice the details, these coins could rewrite the future. This tiny quarter could sit in your wallet right now, waiting for the moment its secret is uncovered. Collectors emphasize vigilance. Inspect each coin with care, especially the 2000p Maryland quarter. Examine the mint mark, the die lines, the eagle, and the lettering. Compare it to verified images online from top grading companies. Don't rush. A rushed glance could mean missing the difference between an ordinary quarter and a coin worth over $1 million. The coin market is full of stories like this, but the 2000p Maryland quarter stands out because it is both attainable and extraordinary. Unlike coins from the 19th century, which might be locked away in private collections, this quarter is hiding in circulation. That means someone, somewhere, could pull it out of their pocket change right now and change their life forever. And remember, condition matters, but rarity matters more. Even a coin showing somewhere can be worth hundreds of thousands if it carries the correct die error. Grading can push its value into the millions, but authenticity is crucial. Only verified coins with professional grading will fetch the top prices. Mistakes can be costly, as the market is unforgiving for fakes or misidentified specimens. Handle it carefully. Avoid cleaning or scratching the surface. Photograph it under good lighting. Compare it to verified images. Then, take it to a reputable coin dealer or submit it to a professional grading service. If you're lucky enough to have a genuine 2000p Maryland quarter with a hidden die error, you could be holding a coin worth more than most people see in a lifetime. The thrill is in the hunt. The possibility that a single coin in your hand could be worth $1 million is almost too extraordinary to believe. Yet, history has shown us time and again that these coins exist. From forgotten jars in kitchens to rolls pulled from banks, from eBay auctions to private sales, the 2000p Maryland quarter has captivated collectors, inspired dreams, and created fortunes. Identifying your potential treasure. Look for the Philadelphia P mint mark, die clash anomalies, doubling in the letters, faint ghost images from the opposite side, and unusual textures on the surface. Take your time. Compare to verified coins. Study the minute details, because these are the lines between an ordinary quarter and $1 million miracle. This exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, awaiting, almost invisible, carrying the power to turn ordinary pocket change into life-changing wealth. A coin that seems small, insignificant, and forgotten could, with one careful discovery, become $1 million miracle. And that is the magic of the 2000p Maryland quarter. Imagine that, a shiny quarter, smaller than your fingernail, casually sitting in a jar or rattling around in your pocket, and nobody could guess the fortune it held. And yet, that is exactly what happened with the 2000p New Hampshire quarter dollar, a coin that looks completely ordinary at first glance, yet hides a secret so valuable it has shocked the entire coin collecting world. Collectors first noticed something unusual about this quarter back in the early 2000s. Unlike other coins in circulation, a handful of New Hampshire quarters struck at the Philadelphia Mint displayed a rare minting anomaly. Some showed double rims, subtle doubling on the lettering, and in the most extreme cases, an off-center strike that left part of the design faint, almost ghostly. Dealers who spotted these coins immediately recognized their potential. This wasn't just a minor error, it was a coin that could fetch hundreds of thousands, even millions, to the right collector. But what makes this coin truly extraordinary isn't just the error itself, it's the story of survival. The 2000p New Hampshire quarter was released into everyday circulation alongside millions of ordinary quarters. Most were spent, exchanged, lost under couch cushions, or slipped into the back of drawers. Only a select few escaped the hands of casual spenders, preserved by collectors who either noticed the subtle anomalies or simply got lucky. And it is in that rarity that its million-dollar value is hidden. Collectors were shocked when one of those quarters surfaced at a high-profile auction. In pristine, gem-condition state, it sold for a staggering $1.3 million. Imagine holding a single coin that, in one instant, could transform an ordinary life. The auction house described the crowd reaction as electric. Dealers were whispering, hands shaking, eyes wide, and the gavel fell with a sound that echoed the promise of unimaginable wealth. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. The mystery deepens when you examine the minting process. The Philadelphia Mint produced millions of quarters each year, yet only a minuscule fraction were affected by errors. Tiny misalignments during the striking process, uneven pressure, or subtle die rotations could create a one-of-a-kind anomaly. These errors, invisible to most, were exactly what made this quarter so extraordinary. And yet, most people had no idea they were holding a potential fortune. And here's the part that will make your heart race. The coin's value doesn't come from glitter or gold. This quarter is composed of standard copper and nickel. Its worth is pure rarity, pure anomaly, pure chance. The difference between a common quarter and one worth over $1 million is measured in millimeters, in fate lines, in details most eyes would miss. And that tiny difference could be sitting in your wallet right now. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Once word spread about the 2000p New Hampshire quarters auction sale, collectors rushed to check their own coin jars. Dealers scoured thrift stores, coin shops, and estate sales. Banks were contacted to see if any pristine rolls of quarters had been overlooked. Social media threads erupted with speculation and theories. Suddenly, this ordinary coin had become a treasure map, and anyone could be holding the X that marked the spot. The emotional intensity surrounding this coin is real. Imagine holding a coin in your hand and realizing it could change everything. Dreams of financial freedom, once distant, suddenly felt attainable. Every collector knew that owning a 2000p New Hampshire quarter wasn't just about the coin itself, it was about the story it carried, a story of luck, chance, timing, and a tiny error that the mint never intended. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Look closely at the obverse of the coin. Examine the date, the P mint mark, and the lettering around Lincoln's profile. Any signs of doubling, misalignment, or faint ghost images are critical. On the reverse, check the eagle and lettering. Anomalies and there are more inconsistencies in the engraving could be the difference between an everyday quarter and one that commands $1 million price tag. Many collectors have made fortunes by understanding these subtle indicators. One man, for instance, discovered a coin in a roll purchased at a grocery store. At first glance, it seemed ordinary. But upon closer inspection, the faint doubling on the letters United States of America told a completely different story. He submitted it for grading, and within weeks, he held a coin valued at over $1 million. Imagine that feeling, discovering a life-changing fortune hiding in plain sight. But the intrigue doesn't stop there. Experts warn that counterfeits and misidentified coins abound. Dealers stress that proper grading is essential. Professional grading services meticulously examine weight, diameter, and die characteristics. Even the smallest imperfection in grading can mean the difference between a coin valued in the millions and one worth only a few dollars. Knowledge, precision, and patience are your allies in uncovering this hidden treasure. And yet, The coin's allure isn't purely financial, it's inspirational. It represents the thrill of discovery, the excitement of the hunt, and the possibility that an ordinary object could suddenly hold extraordinary value. For collectors, the 2000p New Hampshire quarter embodies everything magical about coin collecting. That one small, overlooked detail can rewrite your life story. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on any possible specimens. Auctions are setting records. Social media is alive with stories of late-night searches through coin jars and dusty drawers. Every corner of the coin world is buzzing, because this is more than a quarter. This is a symbol of hope, luck, and the extraordinary potential hiding in the mundane. Now, let's talk specifics. If you want to identify a 2000p New Hampshire quarter that could be worth $1 million, there are several things to look for. First, check the P mint mark near the date. It should be sharply struck, but terrors often show doubling or misalignment. Examine Lincoln's profile closely. Any subtle doubling on the features or the lettering is critical. Look for rim anomalies, especially around the edges of the reverse side, and always check the overall condition. Uncirculated, flawless coins carry the highest values. These details are what separate the ordinary from the extraordinary. Collectors often make the mistake of overlooking circulation coins entirely, thinking the $1 million examples exist only in perfect, untouched rolls. But history proves otherwise. Some of the most valuable quarters were discovered in loose change, passed from hand to hand, unnoticed for years. The lesson is clear: every coin has potential. Every pocket may hide a miracle. The emotional pull of this coin cannot be overstated. Think about it. Our one man's simple act of checking his spare change could lead to a life-altering discovery. The thrill, the disbelief, the pure joy of realizing that a single quarter is worth more than most people earn in decades. That's the magic of the 2000p New Hampshire quarter. It's not just a coin, it's a story, a possibility, a $1 million dream waiting to be realized. This exact coin could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Every twist, every misstep in the minting process, every subtle anomaly adds to its value. Every collector's dream, every whispered legend in coin shops across the country, points to the same reality. A single 2000p New Hampshire quarter in pristine, error-free condition can completely change your life. So don't overlook your spare change. Don't dismiss those old jars, coin rolls, or forgotten drawers. Look carefully. Examine every quarter. One of them may carry the secret that could turn a mundane moment into a $1 million miracle. This coin represents more than currency. It's the ultimate reminder that extraordinary treasures can hide in the most ordinary places, waiting for someone with eyes to see and the patience to discover. But sold for nearly $1 million. Imagine picking up your loose change, tossing a quarter into your pocket, and that single coin could change your life forever. For most people, a 1991p Washington quarter is nothing more than a quarter, small, coppery, ordinary. But for a select few collectors, one tiny detail on this coin has transformed it into a treasure worth over $1 million. It all starts with the story of a coin no one expected to be special. In 1991, the U.S. Mint produced billions of quarters for circulation, stamped with precision and designed to withstand the test of time. Yet somewhere in that massive production, a handful of coins slipped through with subtle, almost invisible errors. Small deviations, almost impossible to see with the naked eye, made those quarters more than just currency. They became keys to a millionaire's dream. Collectors were stunned when the first 1991p Washington quarter with these hidden errors surfaced. Dealers scrambled, experts were called, and auctions erupted with frenzied excitement. What made this coin so valuable? It's all in the details. A slight doubling of the lettering, tiny minting anomalies along the edge, imperfections so faint that most people dismiss them as scratches or wear. These are the markers of a quarter worth unimaginable amounts. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One man, a casual collector, was sorting through his change when he noticed something unusual. A reflection caught his eye, a faint shadow along the Liberty inscription. Most people would have tossed it back into circulation without a second thought. But he knew, instinctively, that he had found something rare. He sent the coin to a grading expert, heart-pounding, hoping for validation, fearing disappointment. The results came back, and they were beyond anything he could have imagined. The coin was in pristine condition and bore the telltale signs of a mint error that could fetch up to $1.4 million at auction. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins because every year, more collectors realize that ordinary change may hide extraordinary value. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. It's not flashy, it's not screaming at you from the coin jar, but for those trained to look, it's a signal, a quiet whisper of wealth waiting to be discovered. Imagine walking into a coin shop, seeing rows of quarters, and knowing that one of them could be your ticket to financial freedom. One coin, tucked between ordinary quarters, could instantly elevate your life. Some of the most incredible sales have occurred at high-stakes auctions, where bids climbed rapidly, reaching jaw-dropping numbers. One 1991p Washington quarter, untouched by circulation, sold for nearly $1 million to a collector who recognized its potential immediately. And yet, these coins remain hidden, scattered across America in jars, drawers, and the pockets of everyday people. That's the secret. These $1 million quarters are not locked away in some museum vault. They are out there, waiting for someone with curiosity, patience, and a trained eye to uncover them. The thrill of discovery is part of what makes this coin so legendary. One collector recalled the moment he first held a 1991p Washington quarter with these rares. His hands trembled, his heart raced. The feeling was indescribably a mix of disbelief, excitement, and the understanding that his life was about to change. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. Experts warn that spotting these coins requires attention to the smallest details. Look closely at the lettering, especially the word Liberty for signs of doubling. Examine the mint mark P for slight distortions or anomalies. Check the rim carefully. Even the tiniest imperfection along the edge can indicate a coin from this ultra-rare series. Most people overlook these signs, dismissing them as damage or wear. But for the trained eye, they are the difference between a worthless quarter and a coin worth over $1 million. Collectors tell stories of auctions where multiple bidders fought over a single 1991p Washington quarter, each recognizing that the potential payout was life-changing. The excitement is palpable. Hearts racing, paddles raised. The room holds its breath as the hammer falls and the coin sells for a staggering sum. It's moments like these that fuel the legend of the 1991p quarter, proof that hidden treasures exist in plain sight. But it's not just the auctions that make this coin remarkable. The personal stories are even more compelling. Everyday people, retirees, office workers, and hobbyists have stumbled upon this coin and change, and in a matter of moments, their lives have transformed. Some have paid off mortgages, funded college educations, or donated generously to causes they care about, all because a single quarter carried the power of $1 million. The thrill is in the hunt. Sorting through rolls of quarters, examining coins under a magnifying glass, feeling the weight of history in your hands. These are experiences few people will ever forget, and every so often, a 1991p Washington quarter surfaces, a quiet reminder that fortune favors the observant, the patient, and the curious. Collectors emphasize that condition matters immensely. A quarter in near-perfect state, with minimal wear, crisp lettering, and clear mint anomalies, is exponentially more valuable than one that has circulated heavily. The combination of rarity and pristine condition is what drives the astronomical values, turning a small piece of copper into $1 million marvel. What makes this coin even more captivating is the mystery surrounding its scarcity. No one knows exactly how many exist. The mint never intended for these errors to survive, and yet a handful did, slipping unnoticed into circulation, scattered across the country, awaiting discovery. Every time a new one appears, the excitement triples through the collector community, sparking a mix of envy, admiration, and hope. Imagine holding one of these quarters in your hand. Feel the weight of potential, the history stamped into its surface, the knowledge that you are holding something that could transform your life. One coin, one chance, one discovery, and suddenly, you're part of a story that collectors will retell for generations. This is more than just a coin. It's a symbol of possibility, a reminder that extraordinary wealth can appear in the most ordinary places. That routine trip to the grocery store, a forgotten drawer, or a loose change jar could hold a life-altering treasure. The 1991p Washington quarter is proof that magic can exist in everyday objects if only you know how to see it. Start with careful inspection. Examine every 1991p quarter you encounter, paying close attention to the mint mark, the lettering, and the edges. Use a magnifying glass, compare to reference images of known examples, and never dismiss what looks unusual. Remember, most collectors miss these coins at first glance. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is just a matter of noticing what others overlook. Dealers advise patience. Rushing can mean missing a coin that could be worth $1 million. Slow, methodical examination, combined with a trained eye and knowledge of mint anomalies, is what separates casual collectors from those who uncover legendary treasures. Every discovery comes with a story. A retired school teacher found one tucked in a drawer and used the proceeds to fund her dream retirement trip around the world. A young hobbyist uncovered one in a jar, transforming his small collection into a life-changing fortune. These coins are catalysts for dreams, turning everyday moments into extraordinary opportunities. It could be in your possession right now, sitting in a drawer, in your car, or in a jar on your shelf. A single glance under a magnifying glass could reveal a coin that will change everything. Every time you think about loose change, remember the 1991p Washington quarter, a coin that ordinary could carry a fortune beyond imagination, a literal $1 million secret hiding in plain sight. It could be worth over $1 million. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that looks completely ordinary, a broken bar, and yet, hidden in plain sight, it carries a secret so rare, it has collectors scrambling across the country. This is the story of the 2003p Missouri quarter dollar, a coin that has stunned the coin world and turned simple pocket change into a $1 million miracle. Most people never give a second thought to the quarters in their pocket. They're just coins, jingling along with your keys and coffee change. But every so often, a coin appears that changes everything. A coin like this one, minted in 2003 at the Philadelphia Mint, that contains a hidden error so subtle, so shocking, that when it hit the auction block, collectors were left speechless. Some coins have small errors, minor die scratches, tiny variations. But this Missouri quarter, its mistake was monumental, invisible to most, yet when discovered, it could be worth more than most Americans earn in a lifetime. The story begins with one collector, a man in his 60s who had been casually sorting through a bag of pocket change at his kitchen table. It was just another rainy afternoon. He was sipping coffee, mindlessly rolling coins for his collection, when one quarter caught his eye. At first glance, it looked normal: the arching gateway arch, the flowing Missouri River, the text engraved neatly around the edge. But something about the mint mark, the small P near the date, made him pause. It was slightly doubled. Just a whisper of doubling, barely noticeably broken bar, but he knew what that meant. He took it to his local coin dealer, casually expecting perhaps a $50 curiosity. Instead, the dealer's eyes went wide. He carefully examined it under magnification, turning it in every direction. His voice trembled as he whispered the words that would change the collector's life. "It's a broken bar. This is the 2003p Missouri quarter error. It's rare, extremely rare. I've never seen one like this in all my years." But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. News spread quickly. A coin from 2003, a year most people wouldn't even consider noteworthy, could fetch prices approaching $1 million in top condition. Dealers began scouring coin rolls. Auctions that normally saw these quarters sell for mere dollars were suddenly skyrocketing into six-figure territory. Collectors who had ignored their jars of change suddenly realized they were sitting on potential treasure. One man's casual weekend sorting had uncovered a coin that could be the key to a life-changing sum of money. The answer lies in the minting process. During production at the Philadelphia Mint, a rare die error occurred. The P mint mark was struck twice, a phenomenon known as a double diamond mark. To the untrained eye, it's invisible, blending seamlessly with the coin's surface. But under magnification, the doubling is unmistakable. The extra outline of the P is sharp, distinct, and perfectly formed. It's an error that should have been caught during quality control, but instead, it slipped through the cracks. creating a coin that today could be worth up to $1.5 million. Collectors were shocked. This wasn't just another coin to add to the album. This was a once-in-a-lifetime treasure hiding in plain sight. And it wasn't only the mint marque, subtle variations in the metal, tiny imperfections in the die, all added to the coin's value. Experts began cataloging the characteristics, teaching collectors exactly what to look for. Every ridge of the gateway arch, every curve of the river, and especially the double P became a signature of potential wealth. Many quarters from 2003 were already considered unremarkable. Most were rolled into change, spent in vending machines, lost under couch cushions. The very rarity of this era meant that only a handful had survived in high-grade condition, and those who did possess one in pristine state suddenly held what could be described as a $1 million ticket in their hands. The combination of scarcity, condition, and the eye-catching mint era is what drives its incredible value. One auction house documented a sale that sent shockwaves through the community. The coin, graded as near perfect by top collectors, sold for $920,000, nearly $1 million for a coin that, had it been spent in a parking meter, would have been worth just 25 cents. Imagine discovering such a coin in your wallet. Added disbelief, the thrill, the instant transformation from casual collector to millionaire potential. Stories like this make seasoned collectors shiver with excitement and newcomers dream of finding their own hidden treasure. And it gets even more fascinating. Experts discovered that the doubling of the mint mark is sometimes accompanied by micro details in the lettering and design that further confirm its authenticity. Tiny scratches, die cracks, and uneven strikes can all signal that his is one of the rarest Missouri quarters ever produced. Dealers are now trained to examine every 2003 Missouri quarter with a jeweler's loupe, turning over each coin to uncover these telltale signs. It's almost like a treasure hunt. The difference between a regular quarter and a coin worth over $1 million is in the details. Collectors should be wary of coins that mimic this error. Some quarters may appear to have a doubled mint mark due to lighting, wear, or post-mint damage. It takes a trained eye to differentiate the authentic double die from ordinary circulation wear. That's why expert grading is crucial. Coins that pass rigorous grading standards see their value skyrocket, while those with doubt can barely sell for a few $100s. This is a coin that demands careful attention, but the reward, a potential $1 million windfall, is more than worth the effort. And there's another twist. Some collectors discovered that even within the 2003 Missouri quarters, certain die batches were more likely to produce the doubling. Coins struck early in the production run tend to be sharper, with more pronounced doubling, while later coins show softer impressions. This tiny nuance can make the difference between a coin worth $50,000 and one worth over $1 million. It's almost like the mint left hidden clues in the coin itself, guiding the lucky few who know how to look. The excitement is contagious. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on any 2003 Missouri quarters that show promise. Collectors are digging through decades of stored coins, jars, and boxes, hoping to uncover the elusive error. One man reported finding a nearly flawless example in a forgotten roll of change from a family vacation, a coin that had quietly journeyed across the country before landing in his hands. Stories like these make you realize that this isn't just collecting. This is a chance encounter with history, a brush with fortune, and a reminder that sometimes, the greatest treasures are hiding where we least expect them. First, examine the mint mark carefully. Look for doubling, a faint, yet clear outline of a second P. Compare it to standard quarters. Second, check for subtle die cracks or imperfections around the lettering and imagery. Third, condition is everything. Coins in mint state, with minimal wear and crisp details, are exponentially more valuable than those circulated for decades. Finally, when in doubt, seek a professional grading. A certified expert can authenticate the doubling and provide a value that might make your jaw drop. Remember, the value of this coin isn't just in its metal. It's in the story, the rarity, and the thrill of discovery. Every scratch, every ridge, every subtle error contributes to a history that could transform your life overnight. This is the kind of coin that turns ordinary people into collectors who understand the incredible potential lying in jars of forgotten change. Imagine reaching into a drawer right now and pulling out a 2003 Missouri quarter. At first glance, it might seem insignificant, but under the right light, with careful observation, you notice something extraordinary. That tiny double P glimmering under the magnification. Your heart races. You know, at that moment, that this coin could be worth more than your car, more than a year's salary, maybe even over $1 million. One small piece of metal, holding the promise of a lifetime of dreams realized. Imagine a tiny quarter sitting quietly in someone's pocket, change, completely ordinary to the naked eye, suddenly becoming the stuff of legends. Collectors were stunned, dealers were scrambling, and one lucky individual turned a simple 25-cent piece into $1 million miracle. It all starts back in 2006. The U.S. Mint was churning out state quarters like clockwork, millions of them, each one supposed to be identical. Among these was the South Dakota quarter, released to honor Mount Rushmore and the state's rich heritage. But hidden in plain sight was a secret, a subtle error that would go unnoticed by most for years. Only a sharp eye, a bit of luck, and a lot of patience would uncover its value. At first glance, the coin looks like any other South Dakota quarter. It has the familiar face of George Washington on the front and the majestic Mount Rushmore on the back. But beneath this everyday appearance lies a hidden treasure, a minting anomaly so rare that it has flipped the coin world upside down. Collectors call it the double die obverse, the ghostly shadow doubling the inscriptions and details on the coin. Most people never notice it. Most people pass it by, thinking it's just a regular quarter. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A collector in Ohio was sorting through a box of loose change when he noticed something odd. The lettering on the Washington side looked slightly off, almost doubled. At first, he thought it was just a smudge or manufacturing quirk. But as he held it up to the light, he realized this was no ordinary coin. The minting error was precise, rare, and extremely valuable. He took it to a dealer who specializes in rare coins, expecting maybe a few $100s. Instead, he was told it could be worth hundreds of thousands. The excitement was palpable. This wasn't just a coin, it was a once-in-a-lifetime find. $1 million possibility hidden in pocket change. Over the next few years, the 2006 South Dakota quarter began making waves in auctions. Collectors and investors were fascinated by the rarity of the minting mistake. Coins graded in pristine condition started fetching jaw-dropping prices. Some sold for nearly $1 million, others for hundreds of thousands. The coin became legendary, a symbol of luck, patience, and the thrill of discovery. Not every 2006 South Dakota quarter is valuable. Many look identical to the untrained eye. The secret lies in the details, the doubling on the inscriptions, the slightly raised lines, the subtle shift in the tab. These tiny imperfections are what separate an ordinary quarter from $1 million treasure. Most people miss it completely. Most people discard it without a second thought. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins whenever they appear. Auction houses are alert, scanning for any trace of the rare double die error. And collectors who already own one are guarding it like gold. The demand is fierce, and the stakes are sky high. One single coin can make a career. One coin can change a life forever. It's a reminder that the ordinary can hide the extraordinary. That the simple coin, overlooked for years, can suddenly become a symbol of fortune. Imagine sorting your coins today and finding that hidden gem, that exact quarter that could be worth more than your car, more than your annual salary, more than you ever dreamed. That's the thrill of the 2006 South Dakota quarter. Condition is everything. Even the rarest minting error loses its value if it's worn or damaged. Pristine coins, with sharp details and minimal wear, are the ones that command the $1 million prices. So when searching through your change, keep an eye out for clarity, sharp lettering, and those subtle doubling lines that set this coin apart. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. But that miracle doesn't come to everyone. You have to look closely, examine carefully, and recognize the hidden signs that the coin is special. The lettering on the obverse should show subtle doubling, particularly on the words Liberty and the date. The edges should be crisp, and the overall coin must be in top condition. It's meticulous work, but the payoff can be unimaginable. Collectors who have this coin often tell stories of disbelief. Some say they couldn't sleep after realizing what they held. Others describe the shock of seeing the auction numbers skyrocket to prices that defy logic and turn a simple quarter into a financial legend. And for those who haven't found one yet, the dream persists. They hope that one day, hidden in a jar, a drawer, or even loose in a pocket, the coin will appear, and with it, the chance at unimaginable wealth. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The world of rare coins thrives on discovery, on the unexpected. The 2060 South Dakota quarter is a perfect example, ordinary on the surface, extraordinary beneath, a whisper of fortune waiting for the one who notices. Every collector's story adds to the legend. One man discovered his coin in a roll of change while paying for groceries. Another inherited it from a relative who had no idea of its value. Each story reinforces the incredible luck and timing required to hold a coin that could fetch millions. The rarity of the minting era makes it almost mythical. And yet, it exists, quietly waiting for the next sharp-eyed collector. 2006. The D-Mint Mark IV Denver. Examine the obverse side for double inscriptions, particularly the words Liberty and the date. Look for raised lines that shouldn't be there and subtle shifts in the design details. Compared to a standard 2006 D quarter, the differences are small but unmistakable once you know what to look for. And remember, the value skyrockets only when the coin is in pristine, uncirculated condition. Imagine holding that coin, knowing that it could be worth over $1 million. The thrill is unmatched. It's not just about money, it's about discovery, about luck, about holding a piece of history that very few will ever see. The 2060 South Dakota quarter isn't just a coin, it's proof that fortune favors the observant, that treasures exist where you least expect them, and that your next life-changing find could be hiding in plain sight. Some collectors describe the feeling as surreal. One moment, it's just a quarter, the next, it's a potential $1 million treasure. The anticipation, the disbelief, the sudden realization that something so small can hold such immense value. It's a roller coaster of emotion that every collector dreams of. And the story doesn't end there. Auctions continue to surprise the coin world, with top-grade examples pushing closer to the $1 million mark. Dealers remain vigilant. Collectors remain hopeful. The legend of the 2060 South Dakota quarter continues to grow, fueled by stories of miraculous discoveries and life-changing sales. One coin, one tiny quarter, could change everything. Examine every detail. Look for that subtle doubling, hold it up to the light, and imagine the possibilities. You might just be holding history in your hands, $1 million secret hiding in plain